Standard 8, Subject English, Lesson number 1, Dick Whittington and his cat. Dick Whittington and his cat is an English folklore surrounding the real life is called as Richard Whittington, who was born on 1354, 1423, a wealthy merchant and later a Lord Mayor of London. The legend describes his rise from poverty stricken childhood with the fortune he made through the sale of his cat to a rat infested country. This is even a strong message for the children who must do good deeds and generosity will timely lead to the great fortune. So listen up, kids, goodness will be rewarded. This is even an inspiring story and has a strong message to convey. So let's get started with this lesson. There was once a poor boy called Dick Whittington who lived in a small village in the south of England. He had no proper home, for both his parents had died and he was unkindly treated by many of the villagers. One day, Dick overheard someone say that the streets of London were paved with gold, and he decided that he would go there at once and pick up his fortune up in a gold pieces from the streets, for he thought people might treat him more kindly if he were rich. So young Dick set out to walk London. He had not gone far when a man in a cart stopped and asked him if he was running away from home. I have no home, Dick answered. I am on my way to London to find my fortune. I am going to London myself, said the carter. Jump up here beside me and we will journey together. They arrived in London just before nightfall, and the carter left Dick and made his way to an inn. Poor Dick stood alone and looked around him in a dismay. Where was all that fine gold? All he could see were dirty streets and lots of unfriendly people. He had nowhere to sleep. In the end, he spent the night in the corner of an alley where he hoped he would come to no harm. The next morning, Dick woke up cold, miserable, and very hungry. He wandered around begging for food. But again and again the people shouted at him, Go away, you lazy fellow! Be off with you! And aimed angry blows at his head. At last he collapsed in the street, lay there, too weak to look further for food. There were no work and no food. Tired and starving, he sits outside the home of a wealthy merchant named Mr. Fitzwarren. But the cook tries to shoo him away. Luckily, Fitzwarren returns home for dinner, sees the boy, and takes pity on him. When Dick explains how he has tried to find work but hasn't eaten for 3 days, Fitzwarren takes Dick into his home, feeds him, gives him employment as a cook's assistant. The cook doesn't like Dick Whittington one bit and makes his life a misery, scolding him, beating him with ladle on the head. That is, until Alice, the merchant's daughter, intervenes and tells the cook to stop mistreating. But she was too kind, took care of him, feeded him timely. Dick sleeps in a small garret at the top of the merchant's house, and the garret was overrun with mice and rats. When Dick earns a penny for shining a man's shoes, he buys a cat from a girl, and the cat becomes his mouser, solving the rat infestation problem for him. When Fitzwarren is making a venture overseas, he asks everyone in his household to put something forward to send away to sea and make their fortune. But as Dick Whittington only has his cat, he reluctantly parts with that and sends it to sea. The cook, annoyed that Alice and others in the house were showing the orphan boy such kindness, takes against him even more and starts taunting him for sending his cat to sea to make his fortune for him. Poor Dick felt so miserable that he decided to leave London. So he packed together his few belongings and left the merchant's house. Getting as far as Highgate Hill, where he sat down and rested on a stone that's called as Whittington Stone. To his day, there is a statue of a cat pictured right to commemorate the exchange of the heart. But at that moment, he heard Bow Church and the Cheapside ringing. He thought they were saying to him, "Turn again, Whittington, Lord Mayor of London." He took this as a sign, so he turned back, returned to the merchant's house. Meanwhile, Dick Whittington's cat has proved herself resourceful on the ship's voyage to the North Africa, killing all the rats on the board. When the captain is dining with the king and the queen of the kingdom, he discovers they are overrun with rodents and offers to sell them Dick Whittington's cat, arguing for a good price. When the cat comes in and proves what a good mouser she is, the king and queen see that she and her kittens would prove invaluable to the kingdom. So they gave the captain the huge sum of money for her. When the captain arrives back in London, he tells the merchants about the huge fortune he had received for Dick Whittington's cat, and the merchant insists that Dick keep all the money and become a richer merchant. But Dick was too kind hearted to keep every penny, so he makes a gift to everyone, such as Alice, the merchant's daughter, and even the cook who had beaten him. Now he was a gentleman and treated Alice so well. Mr. Fitzwarren proposed that Dick and his daughter should marry, which they did. They had several children. Dick Whittington was Lord Mayor of London 3 times, and he was knighted by the King Henry V. He even features that animal helper who proves invaluable in making the hero his fortune, although it relies less on the rule of three than many other fairy stories. Fitzwarren takes pity on him, and Dick later becomes a Lord Mayor of London and gives him the recent office is a 21st century role different from the ancient office of Lord Mayor and even his social superior. This story even knows that it is around the early 17th century. It's a ballad of 1612 by Richard Johnson, who mentioned the cat that made Whittington his fortune and the detail about Whittington fleeing London only to be called back by the sound of bluebells. Thank you.